There's a story about the monks that were used to write out all of the text into on the parchment, and they were translating from the ancient whatever Hebrew or Latin or Greek or whatever. And one was just doing all the scribing, and came upon something that startled him so much that he ran up the stairs. He had to get to the, what do you call the guy that runs the monastery? The head monk, we'll call him that. He ran up the stairs, his gowns are flapping in the wind. He ran to the head monk and he said, "We made a mistake, we made a mistake. It wasn't celibate, it was celebrate." So we've got this inversion going on. You know, we think all of this shit is serious, right? And we're here for the glory of the creative process, the possibility of connection and allowing and experiencing. And so we need to remember that it's not celibate, it's celebrate. And that will help us stay on the right road. The idea that the external reality has created my experience is something that came along with what we can point to as the fall, the Garden of Eden narrative, where we fell out of our hearts and into our minds and into polarity and into fear. And we've been living in that particular frequency band ever since. The shift that's going on, and I think it's going on planet-wide, thanks to technology and people realizing that it doesn't make any sense to incarnate into an amazing reality and then to suffer the whole time you're here. So it's like the shift in perception is creating a shift in reality, just as the shift in a language, one letter can make all the difference. A shift in one's own being on one's own behalf, right? What's occurred is with the fall and with the idea that the external is the creator of my experience. And the shame that came with the fall, the idea of disobeying, in quotes, God, whoever she is, and from that place being caught and externally referenced, looking all the time into the outer reality to discern how I should behave, what I should say, what I should cover up, right? And so we've been caught in the projection, because this reality is exactly that. It's a projection. And we're projecting our own individual version of it through the lens of our identity. And that distortion lens was created with our earliest experiencing in the incarnation into the 3D reality, and the vehicle being a body-mind unit that we identified with. So the waking up process can be really gradual, but it can also be so beneficial to us when we see that if I'm believing I'm not good enough, then I'm going to have a reality that reflects that back to me. And so we can become aware of where cause is in the matter, and stop believing that I need to change everybody in my reality so that I'll feel better about myself. Because that ain't gonna happen, right? It's like, they need to change. They didn't treat me right. That's why I'm suffering. Well, take a look. Who have you been being to yourself? The subtlety of frequency sometimes eludes the crassness of our cause and effect mind, right? And so that when I take people back into who you're being to yourself, I'm taking them into what is in truth cause in the matter of their experience. And this is where the light starts to shine brighter, and we come home to ourselves. And from that place, how other people behave is no longer what we experience as cause in the matter. We are on our own side. I often call it being on your own behalf, being kind to yourself, telling yourself the truth, saying what's true for you, is a teaching in A Course in Miracles, which is extreme. And it's not something in a Sangha like the one we have here on Maui, and smaller groups also, this can be put into play, but it's a very high bar. The teaching in the Course in Miracles is no hidden thoughts, no hidden thoughts, and no people pleasing. Try to get along on that one for a while.
What was the second line? No thought?
No people pleasing.
No people pleasing.
And so, and what that does is it brings our concerns, our attention back to ourselves, and we begin to move into authenticity, which we abandoned. We left it with our earliest wounding conclusion about ourselves. When I believed that nobody cared because I wasn't fed on time or picked up from nursery school, then I created a distortion lens. So this is a perceptual reality, right? Now I have a distortion lens, and the information through which I view reality is nobody cares about me. Now, my participation in creating the reality is the information that I'm putting out. And in this case, through the distortion, nobody cares about me. And now the other part of the story, which is like, this is a bad joke, right? The other part of the story is that information, nobody cares about me, is being emitted into what we call the quantum field, as if we knew what that was, but that's beside the point. It's being emitted into the quantum field, and then our world shows up through that. The world will actually appear because our part in having a 3D reality is what we take to be real. The quantum field is just in the business of saying yes to that. You know, the double slit experiment was the scientist who measured the photon or the light wave didn't have a preference, right? But when he measured it, it turned into a photon. We have a preference because what we're emitting is being perceived and received by the quantum field as the conclusion of our woundedness. It's an amazing, it's what I was thinking about the revival meetings in the South when I was a little girl, and I would be spending the summers with my grandmother in LA, Lower Alabama. And my favorite thing to do was to go to the revivals where they would put up a tent and they would have visiting preachers. And I got saved every night I went. I was right up there, right? I was right on that altar. Lord, I've sinned. I was probably 5, you know. I didn't know what sin was. But the thing that we put into place from this early garden experience was that there was a God out there, a reality out there, and we had to propitiate, we had to serve it, we had to honor it, we had to obey it. That there was an out there, and that we had to be a certain way in order to succeed, in order to be loved, in order to be taken care of. Whatever it was that our little minds and hearts hit upon, it was clear that it depended on how we behaved, who we were being, and how good we were. So the the word gospel in the New Testament means good news. And I tell a story about my youngest grandson, whose dog had died, and he was riding around with my youngest son, and he was really quiet, and Otis is not usually quiet. And so Jason turned in and said, "Otis, you're so quiet. What's going on with you?" And Otis said, "Well, Dad, I've been thinking about death ever since Kona was his name, the dog that died. Ever since he died, I've just been so worried about dying." And Jason said, "Well, oh, just, you don't have to worry about dying. We are eternal beings. And I just said, wow, Dad, that is such good news. And so this is such good news. The good news is the gospel. The good news is that who you are being to yourself is the information, it seems simplistic in a way, into the quantum field that shows up as your reality. Like, so the idea of being a victim of others has to fall through the cracks into the dispelling of that error. It's an error. It's not how reality works. Again, we are just now moving into the levels of awareness where we can become conscious and choiceful about who we're being. And my message for today is, it's who you're being to yourself. You have to start there. What's happened with our external reality is that we've projected onto other people that if only she was nicer to me, if only they'd invited me to that party. I mean, why did they exclude me, right? But the ways in which I've excluded myself from my own connection with myself, I've excluded myself from my own participation in connection with others, then that's where the source of that apparent oversight or exclusion came from. Is this making sense to everybody? You know, I can't see shit.
Yes.
So with that in mind, I'm looking for a shift for everybody who's on this call today to start to just simply be more in touch with their responsibility for what they want to experience. My suggestion is that what all of us want to experience is kindness and ease and peace and connection. And that the more we give that to ourselves, the more that flows out from us into a world that's being informed by kindness and peace and love and connection. We are the author of this reality in that way. And it has to start with you. You know, when people want to change their circumstances, it's what we've been teaching in the money course. It's you first. You be the one who has the experience of what you believe you would have if you had that soulmate partner or that $1 million bank account. Experience being that, embody that, because that's the information that's going into the quantum field, which can only respond. It has no concern. It only ever says yes to who you are being. We think that God would be good to us. We haven't been good to ourselves, but now God's supposed to be good to us. Well, she won't be, because she's just taking the information of who you're being to yourself. Is this making sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll open the floor now for questions or to further this discussion, or it can go in any direction that anybody is interested in. But it just arises for me in my meditation on days when we have a satsang, an open satsang like this, is like, what is the one thing that if everybody got it, their realities would shift? And that one thing for me is to know what it means and to express what it means to be on your own behalf, to be kind here, not to the exclusion of others, but to the precedence of yourself, because nobody else can do it here but you. We've been wanting other people to do it for us. I want somebody else to tell me how good I am. You first.
So if you're in the room here, you can raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, you can go ahead and raise your hand and I'll spotlight you. But the floor is open to to see how you're being to yourself.
Right, confession.
I can do a piece of work.
Great.
Okay, Heidi.
Yeah, Heidi.
Heidi.
So we have submitted an application to a home and it feels really good. And I I'm finding myself caught in my head. And my particles are going out. That, am I gonna be good enough? Am I gonna get what I want when I talk with the guy in terms of when we move in and what the rental agreement is? And I've left the grandness of my heart, not completely left, but I've left it enough that my head is very active. And in some fear of all the moving parts to allow this to happen with smoothness. And I am used to that. It's very familiar.
Right.
And my mind loves to grab on these juicy details. But that's not really it's not very alive. It's like eating processed food. I want to eat the fresh fruit of my own soul, and I'm having a little hard time getting back there.
Yeah, at the heart of the matter, for everything, excuse me, for everything that we think we want, we have to be the one who has it, like I said before. But another kind of a little bumper sticker is let love radiate without concern for results. What that means in regard to your application for this home on Maui is that you have done everything correctly. You have a sense of being there. You know what it feels like to have the home that you want. Right now, it looks like that one,
Mhm.
right? And so it's like hand it over to the field. Your part is to experience and to know what you want, right?
Right.
And the reason that this is difficult is because in this reality, we've been programmed to believe we have to make it happen,
Uh-huh.
you know? I mean, we've been to too many Joe Dispenza and Tony Robbins workshops. I do create my own reality. No, but the way we create it is by allowing. If we were to designate the identity of the quantum field, it would be the other aspect of oneself. There is an expression in this 3D reality that has a body-mind unit, and expresses through that. But our true nature is the quantum field. And so when you hand that over, because that's the quantum field's job, it's an aspect of entanglement theory, right? Where all the different pieces come together. You can't do that. You can't orchestrate that. And when your mind's hands get into that, then it just screws it up.
Mhm. So it's simply a surrendering, like of my mind, just saying I surrender and let go.
Yeah.
Is that what you say when you hand it over to the
Yes,
quantum
simply
field?
that. How does that sit with you? It's simply that. Yeah, it's like to know what you want and to release it into the field.
Yeah, that feels okay. I mean, I feel not 100% attached to this place. If it falls through, I know that there must be something better. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. And I would like to let go
Mhm.
with all of the pieces and this place. And we're supposed to talk to the landlord tonight or tomorrow or something. And that's when just before this meeting started, that's when I got some anxiety. Oh, am I gonna be enough? Are we gonna be special enough? I don't know whatever I'm used to thinking.
Right.
And I lost that, like, it's not my business what he thinks of me. I know that.
Yeah, the equivalent or something better, and let it go. Because your participation in the quantum field is meta to what you can do with your rational analytic mind. What you do with your rational analytic mind is fill out the information
Mhm.
sheet, see if the numbers work and turn it in and then let it go.
Mhm. 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 I say this prayer to the angels frequently, every day, and it goes, I request the most benevolent outcome of the right home in the right time, in the right place, and that it flows with ease. That's what this one is. It could be for a parking place, but it's just like, so I'm saying it, but I still feel some anxiety in my body.
Right. Yeah, the shift in the body energy is paramount because that's where the actual information is going into the field. The mind is making up the prayer, which is fine.
Uh-huh.
No problem there. But if it's in order to get something, then it carries a particular frequency. Whereas being the one who has the fullness of everything you could want, right? Yeah, you may not even know what that might be. It could be something that you haven't even seen yet. But leaving it to the field is the high bar, but it's the powerful bar.
It's really letting go, isn't it?
It really is.
You know, all morning I've been sitting across from Jean Vivi and I'm seeing him in this liminal space in doing human design essential oil meditation with Robin and it just I'm watching him and more he's doing that. I'm eating chocolate and I'm like making lists and I know that that's not what I want. And I think because he's letting go, I'm grabbing. I think I'm grabbing. So
Yeah, you have an agreement between you that only one of you can let go.
Good job.
You do the job of letting go, and I'll be over here working the numbers.
Right.
It's my time to joke.
That's
I
right.
let go.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, just one more question. How do you let go of in the body? My
Well,
mind.
breathing is the best way to allow to see that it's all moving, everything's
Right.
moving. Nothing is stuck unless you're holding your breath.
I know this, it's just when I'm in it, I forget it all. When my mind's hands are like sticky with Velcro.
Right, that's an identity issue, isn't it? When I'm in it, that's an identity issue. Who do you think you are is the answer to that. So
That's good.
what?
That's good. Yeah.
You're not in anything.
Mhm.
You're the space, you're the awareness in which realities arise. Clear that space, be clear about what you want, and hand it off to the quantum field.
Right, so when I go back to that innocent child in me, before all the wounded conclusions were there, that spark, that sweetness, there, I can let go.
Right?
I can let go of it all.
You-
I just have to remember to go back to her,
That's
to
right.
it, but to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
Actually, Adora was next, and then we'll go to you. All right. Adora.
Okay, hi. Um, my question, this is such a good topic because I think it's easy to hear that we're not supposed to get attached to outcomes and, that the path of, I think some of us got good at consciousness to be able to create our reality. And like there was so it's even harder, I think, for some of us or myself, I'll just speak for myself, to really just let it all go. And I can hear a good friend of mine in the background of my mind saying, all there is play. And that, I guess that's my question is, what do we do with the time in between the mind choosing to be attached to goals, outcomes? It seems like it's just endemic and creates such a panic in our lives. And I just wonder why is it still so hard sometimes to, like she said, we know all this and we hear it, but it's so hard to be able to keep living it deeply and not lose it. I mean, I know
Yeah, we have to be kind to ourselves because the programming, if we talk about time, or we can dismiss time as being a headset, right? But if we talk about time, it's been going on, the programming around doing has been overtaking being for half millennia, if we want to talk about it that way. But the most important thing is the beingness. We are so programmed to have our attention particles out and seeing something that needs to be done, or somebody that needs to be done, or some correction that needs to be made. And so we that emptiness that you're pointing to, I think you're pointing to, it's like the ability to sit in peace, whether it's meditation or not, doesn't matter. The ability to sit in the spaciousness of the one I am is the direction that we want to move in. And the mind will try to interfere and give you something to be worried about or to chew on or whatever. So it's a practice, and it's an ongoing alertness, to where you're being pulled. It's like a magnet. It's gonna pull you into, where it's gonna pull you into is your mind, but it may look like it's pointing to taxes or accounting or a program that you're supposed to design or anything like that. The most creative possibility that we have access to is the arising and the overflowing of our true nature, because the nature of who we are as life is creative and abundant and forthcoming. Because we've been accustomed to our minds cranking it out, we are not we're not as we're not as attentive to what's just moving and um, and the programming that life is hard. It's been going on for a while too, but we're here to see more, to shine the bright light of awareness on the error so that the reality can actually shift. That there is a morphogenetic field of consciousness, and people like us meeting and seeing the larger reality can make a difference in this reality.
Yeah, I just want to end with, I'm a yoga teacher, and I know the path is through the breath, through the body, through the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. I was teaching a class today, two classes, and I said it all, but it's still, kind of hard. But what I really want to do is bring this kind of consciousness, this awakeness through the yoga, through the body, through the breath, through the, you know, experience. And anyway, I'm going to do it myself. And I'm even leading a workshop this weekend on self-love. So
Beautiful.
this is so perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adora. And don't limit yourself to thinking it's a spa day. Self-love is to be on your own side, to say what's true for you, at least to yourself. To stop mind fucking yourself into believing you're here on behalf of something or somebody else.
I get it. Yeah.
It's not that we're not gonna do that, we will do that, but the true north has to be here first for that to be the highest frequency, for that offering to go, the love to go where it was intended. There's a fundamental error, it's like the oxygen mask and when you're in the airplane, you have to put it on yourself first before you put it on the elderly, which I would qualify for, or the child, right? You have to do this here. We have to come home to this. And from this place, we will be a blessing to all of reality, actually. Thank you, Adora.
Oh, thank you. Hi, this is Elaine,
Ellen.
and this is so beautiful. Thank you. Somebody's telling me to say Elaine means light.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm put on the planet to bring more light. And what you're saying is illuminating. So thank you so much. I relate so much to Heidi. And like I know to quiet my mind, I know to breathe, I know so much. And yet in those moments it's challenging. I love what you're saying about self-love first and being our own advocate, which is so essential. An example of my hyperactive mind. I got to Maui last week and just work, everything faded away and I was enjoying the moments. I was listening to the birds. I could hear everything. And then I started work this week on Zoom and I had to mediate. And I run a nonprofit and I had to mediate between two different people who were very upset at each other. And I was so good in the moment, reflecting on all this stuff and each of them getting in their time and space. And I did a really great job. And I'm like, okay, let's go out to dinner. Went to bed, woke up at 2 a.m. And then his brain, Heidi just had to, and I'm doing my breathing, I'm doing central channel breathing, I'm doing, you know, all the things I know, I'm holding my breath, and the brain. just And then I start thinking, okay, am I OCD? You know, I start judging the brain. And then okay, I'm giving it away. I'm giving these people away. I'm giving, you know, these thoughts away, giving the person away. I'm surrendering to it. Breathe. So what am I missing? What's the disconnect from when the brain just starts making lots of noise, even if think I'm doing what I need to do?
Yeah, well, there are a couple of things there. You know, we've all been programmed into believing what we think. And so the mind tends to have a little precedence over our peaceful true nature. But to anything that you can see, you're not it. It sounds like you can see the blah, 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 blah. You can see it, you know what's going on, right?
Yes.
And anything that you can see, if you can identify with the seer of it instead of it, it's and you know, Byron Katie is brilliant at bringing to our attention how to perceive thinking and thoughts and question them and not just believe what we think. In the what I refer to as the fall, the entire fall was out of our hearts and into our rational analytic mind. And so at that point, what we think became elevated as the go-to. But what we think is just most of the time it's moot, it's beside the point at best. And it's hardly ever generative. Thinking should be a function so that you use it if you need to make a list or if you need to do a math problem, which for most of us, one of them might be problem, but not the other. So the whole thing is to be aware of yourself as the awareness of something, whether it's thinking or worry or whatever.
I see. So in those moments, I could say, oh, I see you're thinking, brain.
Right.
Hi, brain.
That's
That's interesting that you're thinking.
right. No resistance. It's just what's happening.
Just what's happening, no
Yeah.
judgment, no trying to get it to stop.
No.
Just, oh, brain, okay,
That's
you're
it.
doing that thing again. Yeah.
Yeah, and typically the mind caught in its woundedness is the inner judge. And so it can sometimes be very harsh. What an idiot you were today. You should have known not to say that. Da, 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 da. But if you can see it, you can relieve yourself of it. It's an object now. It was the unavoidable outcome of an interaction. Doesn't mean anything.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't even judging what happened. I was just, it was more like, I wonder what she thinks about that. I felt so good about what I did, but it was more like, but now I wonder, it was the outcome. It's like, I wonder what she thinks and I wonder how she feels and I wonder how.
But you're using your mind for entertainment.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's,
in those moments, watch it, but do I flip to work? Do I wake up and just start doing something?
no, you can relax into the inner space, which is awareness, right? Fall out of your mind and into your heart and just I call it the field of allowing, and just be present there with ease. And that's a kindness to yourself.
How is that the thing to do rather than the 6 steps at that kind of
It
situation?
didn't sound triggered to me, but
But can you be triggered by your own obsessive thoughts? I mean,
Oh,
isn't that a
you-
trigger?
you could be, if well, that's why I asked her about the content of the thoughts. But she said that they were just running. But if there was one that said, oh, you really screwed things up today, you should have done this or that and the other, you could use the 6 steps.
But isn't the fact that I have this incessant thinking that's bugging me a trigger?
It could be seen that way, but typically it's just habitual and it's a part of everybody's idea of themselves. But yeah, always you can use the 6 steps.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You have the 6 steps, Elaine?
No, why don't I learn the 6 steps?
Yeah, Robin can send them to you, right? So,
I share something. Sometimes an easy way to cut through is just to say thinking. Not to engage in the content, not to engage in it at all. Name it and let it go.
Uh-huh.
Cause the moment we engage in it, then we're hooked. Right, and then it starts to really roll. So if we can just go on thinking. So what?
Uh-huh. Other than I'm gonna be too.
And breathe and all these other things, it seems like quite a bit.
Yeah,
But that sometimes that's the one that just keeps us out of the engagement.
right, right.
And then the other thing I notice is the vagus nerve.
Yeah, I was doing all my Vegas stuff.
What's that?
I was doing all my Vegas nerve and I heard my stomach growl and I did big
Yeah,
yawns.
so between those two, right?
Yeah,
Because you get what she was saying about the body, you handle the mind. And then you do your vagus nerve, whatever you do for that,
yeah,
and the body sets down, and then what someone else, the yoga person said, you do your breathing and
yeah.
you watch, and when you get into those one nice parasympathetic breaths, right? And your system calms down. And you're in. Once you start getting those breathing, that's breathing you,
Right.
then you're in and your system's settling and then, so.
No, I think it's the thinking, because I was doing all the right, but I think what you said it by just saying, oh, thinking, rather than,
Sometimes labeling helps.
yeah,
Labeling it thinking might put it into a category that then you can step aside.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
think-
helpful.
think done.
Thank you. Thank
But
you.
the bottom line, you often say it's just allowing it, not resisting it.
Not resisting and not worrying about it.
Yeah,
And then I started
thinking,
worrying,
thinking.
I started worrying about,
Mhm.
I'm gonna be too tired tomorrow. I'm gonna, that's, bless you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
So we have about 15 minutes left. Anyone on Zoom or in the room have something,
Topic.
topic or issue?
This is wonderful news.
Be careful, Polly's gonna call you awake already if you don't have something.
That's good news. I'm happy. I'm thinking about retirement now.
Oh. Perfect, is that okay? Totally. Can I get 2 times?
Absolutely.
Right, this is one that I didn't know if it's appropriate, but I think, and Marcy said, okay, just how, with what's going on in the world. And I think about, we have the gift of coming to this beautiful space and getting to meet you and. Like, what about people who are in, third world countries or countries that are being harmed? And people who are being harmed right now. That, that they have no choice. And how do we apply? I get triggered, I get sad, helpless. What, why isn't the field working in their favor? Is it working in their favor? My small mind can't see, like what's all the difficulties that are happening to people right now? How do we apply the 6 steps? How do I deal with it?
Yeah, to take the field issue first, the field only says yes to whatever frequency is coming into it. And the frequency of fear is, like you pointed to, so prevalent on the planet. The one place that each one of us has access is to our own peace of mind and our peace, regardless of if you were in the circumstances in one of the war-torn areas, you might do something different. You might be in the kitchen or helping or whatever. But the work that we're talking about here is the greatest contribution we can make to a shift in consciousness, which would not contain the fear-based incidences that are going on. I mean, the reason that they are going on is everybody tries to straighten them out there and not go into cause in the matter. Cause in the matter is our sense of who we are. And that coming home to ourselves and clearing that so that we see clearly is the most important work we can do. From that place, if we're called into a circumstance or a geographical location where there's something more external to do, then it'll happen that way. I sometimes use the analogy of a wreck. If you're driving down the road and you see a wreck on the side of the road, you don't get out and throw yourself into the broken glass and the torn metal. You call 911. Calling 911 in this analogy is taking care of yourself in regard to where you have self-rejection, self-hate, or self-denying going on. Because there is a morphogenetic grid of consciousness, right? And we're participating in it all the time. The work that we described and shared today is the most effective thing we can do to create a new reality. You remember this 100th monkey story, right? Is everybody in? They say yes or no?
Yes.
So there is a morphogenetic field of consciousness in which polarity and victim consciousness has prevailed for however long. The reason that we all participate in it is because we have that conflict within ourselves regarding ourselves, so that that frequency is one of self-rejection, and then writ large it looks like war. So we're going to be the 100th monkeys.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Recently, I was doing some meditation, considering the the nature of the heart and the nature of what I call the field of allowing, which I believe is the heart chakra, or that's the metaphor for that particular field. That is the field of allowing, because that is such a high frequency. It doesn't in any way engage polarity. It's open and it is arising at a very high frequency. And if we think of our heart chakra, ourselves as living from that field rather than from the mind, then that will be a huge frequency infusion into the collective. Because the field of allowing and what it does is it takes you out of polarity, right? It's not that you're not circumspect or rational about what you're choosing, but what you're not caught in polarity and good and bad, right and wrong, black and white. In the book by Paul Levy called The Quantum Revelation, he talks about how the mind in polarity always only sees the good end or the bad end of the stick. In other words, a good solution or a bad solution. But that in the quantum field, there could be 2 good solutions, 3 bad ones, 4 not. I mean, it's like this open-ended, open-minded, open heart that possibilities can arise in. The mind, in wanting to put something in place, limits and that frequency of needing to put something in place is underpinned by fear. And so if the information into the quantum field regarding that, you can see where it goes, right? You're going to get something back. It's going to show up that way as what the polarity implied. You can have this, but not that. Whereas the field of allowing is just possibility. This now, maybe later that. And in ways even that I'm becoming very well aware, we can't think. You can't think that way. It's not a thinking issue.
We have about 5 more minutes if anyone wants to have a chat with Polly.
I just wondered if you could speak to the, I'll use this term addictive nature, but I don't know if that's right, but of being attached to the story or the limitation or the juiciness of the drama or the details with that, the thinking. And, like, I find it really challenging to let that go. Like it's the opposite, or the, not the opposite, the non-doing of that is very still. But I have to be really patient and really in a settled place, and to get the two are diametric, it feels like, on different
Mhm.
ends of the act. They're not on the polarity, because one is in a different realm in my experience.
That's right. Yeah, the ways in which we've been programmed, the collective conditioning has to do with making things happen. So we look out at a world that's shown up in reaction response to who we're being, right? And then we have to move all of like the deck chairs around on the Titanic. We are now working at what is no longer causing the matter. So we're working at the level of effect, expecting to get some kind of different results. That's what's showing up worldwide with all the planetary conflicts and the difficulties. All right, there's no different results in coming from the same distortion lens of polarity, not us and them, and all of that. But the getting used to allowing and to being in touch with what's in front of you to do is so different from the process of mentally figuring things out. In other words, thinking,
Mhm.
and that I understand why it feels so foreign to you. It was really foreign to me, but it's like it takes some risk in a way. It feels like risk. It's the non-risk action. But to just be with whatever is and allow the spaciousness within your own mind and heart. And then you'll find yourself moving to make a phone call or
Mhm.
picking up a dust bunny from the floor. I mean, it'll start to be your in interaction with the reality, the aliveness that's arising looking like this. The other thing that happens when you're no longer identified with a fear-based person, and I use a little code like, I'm not good enough, like anybody with any one of those judgments. When you're not identified with that, then you don't feel like there's something that you have to handle. You feel when you open your eyes, everything that's arising is within your own consciousness. That's the radical nature of the awakened experience. And so it's not like there's something other going on that you've got to get a handle on, right?
Mhm.
And so you start to function from that place of connection. It's hard to describe, but that's a really good.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying. That since first started, I first shared raised my hand and I practiced letting go, I sat here feeling like, you know, this house could fall through, or maybe we don't agree, or I have a really good life in Fairfield. I have, a house that's paid for. I have a car. I don't have to move. I could not go. Even though I'm responding to what I feel an invitation by this energy of this mountain here on Maui, this place. So I guess I like that loosening of the attachment.
Yes, good.
And my mind is saying, don't say that out loud. Don't do that. Like, no,
You're gonna screw it up.
yeah, you're gonna screw it up. And then it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's thinking, that's the mind. I'm just gonna keep responding. If I can stay there, that's why it helps to be here and be talking with you. If I can just keep like coming from there, like,
That
okay, yeah.
spaciousness, you
Yeah.
can feel it, can't you? Like so many things could come to play, and they are. They're all moving in some direction that's just not our business. That
Right.
part of it's not our business.
Right, it's not my lane. Stay in my lane.
That's right.
All right, good. Thank you. That's really good.
Thank you, Heidi. Okay, so I
Okay, Dennis.